I'd like to bring this meeting to order. The Village of Villa Park Board of Trustees meeting, June 24th, 2024. Clerk Konecki, please call the roll.
Trustee Alfano.
Here.
Trustee Cordova.
Here.
Trustee Corkery.
Here.
Trustee Kozar.
Here.
Trustee Kumar. Here. Trustee Patrick.
Here.
President Kazone.
Here. And if we could stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I don't have a prayer today. I'm sorry. I don't have a prayer today. Okay, we'll go to item 3, amendments to the agenda. Do we have any amendments the board would like? Okay, seeing none. We have public comments on agenda items. Clerk Konecki, anyone signed
I
up?
have no one signed up.
Okay, anyone, public comments on agenda items? Okay, public comments on non-agenda items.
Yes, I have, Bob Birch.
Okay, I'm sorry?
Tom Birch regarding Lufkin Park.
My name's Tom Birch. I live on Rand Road, backing up to Lufkin Park. First of all, I want to say thank you for allowing me to address this meeting. There have been a lot of rumors going around as you finish the park. The neighborhood, both people live off the park, actually, in the area, about what the plans are to finish the park. And we've heard rumors that there might be under consideration expanding the band shell that you currently have and spending more money on that. So a couple of things I want to understand better, because people are coming to me now because I'm talking to them. Is it true that the original budget was over budget, what the plan, by $300,000? That's the first question I have for this council, because it seems to me that we've already spent over the budget. Secondly, people feel right now as it is that there's enough green space there for their kids to play in the park. It's kind of, the way they've designed it is there's kind of a rolling hill in front of that thing, so kids can't really play there. And the other thing is, the feeling is, from what we understand, again, of the plans, is that the utilization of the band shell that's there is probably going to be low. In that if you were to have, I heard there was rumors that you're going to have a play there or something like that, that might be used twice a year. If it's not being used, you're going to put maybe a picnic table in it or something. I don't know what the plan is. So trying to learn about what's really under discussion, and if any of these rumors are true. I've heard that you might even build another band shell. I don't know. Those are their concerns. Spending money, less green space. Is it going to even be used in the utilization? And then if you are considering it for theater kind of usage, the understanding is that you've been using the gazebo for those things in the past, and you put up a temporary stage and a tent for people to change in or whatever it is for the costumes. And that, to us, seems the most practical way to go, rather than spending something on a full-time infrastructure whereby, the utilization isn't going to be there and the green space would be gone. That's my request. So I'd like to understand kind of what the position is at this.
Usually we don't respond to comments, but because this is something that seems pretty widespread in that area, I don't know, the manager can kind of explain just a little bit real quick on what the game plan is.
Let's kill the rumors at least.
Yeah, correct.
I'll give it a start, and then our Parks Director, Greg Golis, here is probably get a better idea. The Parks and Rec Department applied for a grant, received a grant from OSLAD for $400,000. Also, they received some money through NEDSRA, to put in infrastructure, or park infrastructure that is accessible to all. And then we had the original price tag on the project was about $1.2 million, and it ended up, it could have been more, but because we decided to do some of the project in-house instead of bringing in contractors, we ended up at about $1.4 million shaving off a few $100,000 by a couple $100,000 by doing stuff inside. One of the things that was always envisioned for that was a band shell for small acoustic concerts and to possibly accommodate the
Shakespeare and Park.
what's the name of the company?
Genesius.
Genesius players who do Shakespeare in the Park. This year they're going to be doing it indoors at the high school, at Willowbrook High School. And I don't know if there's anything else you want to add, but right now the band shell that we put in was I think total price around $75,000. So, and there isn't any specific plan to expand it. There are some ideas we've looked at with the possibility of being able to build a stage, either temporary or permanent out front to make it more about the same size, if not slightly larger than the size of stage they had out of the gazebo. And that's basically what we're looking at right now. Most of the concerts, Greg can describe what some of the things we're looking at doing out there.
Thank you, Manager Harline. Yes,
I think we spoke.
we did speak last week, so thank you for calling. We're not going to add another band shell. One of the ideas was to expand it or make it a little larger to accommodate some of the plays. We do want to use it we do our Super Sensational Saturday mornings. It's a family type
Wonderful.
activities with, like one person sing-alongs, magicians, those type of things. So that was in the plans. Movies in the park. We wouldn't do our concerts because we have a venue already at Cortese Park to do the concerts. The original estimate for the contractors came in and, well, the lowest bid was higher than we expected, so we reduced the contract by doing some in-house work, and it was roughly $250,000 to $300,000, so we saved some
Of
money.
village money was spent.
We saved that
We saved it
by
from the
having our staff do some in-house work, like we're going to do the pathway
But
in-house.
you paid them to do it, right?
Right, but it's
Okay.
during their we're not paying a contractor, it's during their weekly duties. Similar to what they did at North Terrace Park, they put in a limestone pathway, and they would do the same thing. So we did save some money in that regard. Other questions that you?
Well, I guess, at least so you're only considering extending the concrete pad in the front. I heard somebody say they might put something else on the back, like a closet to change in, which, that's just going to be that's a magnet for kids to play in and break into, and
That
I
was.
don't need that in my neighborhood. None of us want, everybody to a person as opposed to doing anything more.
Okay.
Just
Yeah,
to be
that was the
clear.
direction that we had talked about at one of the last board meetings. But building a changing area in the back, we looked at that earlier in the whole process, and we couldn't afford it, and thought was putting, using tents for
it's
changing
not,
areas. But we do have, depending on the direction we get, we're looking at the possibility of adding a changing area in the back of the band shell. The other possible expansion is to either do a more concrete out in front or raising it up to be the level of the current, what's out there now. Maybe similar to Cortese where we have the decking and putting decking up there and expanding it just
Which would cut the
forward.
green space down, right?
Yeah,
I mean, both of
I
them.
don't have the square footage.
Yeah, but still, it's less, right?
It would be a little less, yeah.
Yes, it would. Okay, so you're contemplating expanding the front and putting a permanent structure on the back of it.
Right. And that
That's
was,
what we're opposed to.
that
just
was
to be
per the
clear.
direction of the board.
Okay.
Fair enough.
Okay, well, thank you. Appreciate it. Okay, we have no proclamations, no presentations, and no appointments. We'll go to item 9, consent agenda. The bill listings for the weeks of June 10th and June 17th, 2024, in the amount of $2,946,581.01. Approval of the minutes of the June 10th, 2024 Committee of the Whole and the Village Board of Trustees meeting, and acceptance of the minutes of the June 1st, 2024 Coffee with the Board meeting. Do we have a motion for the consent agenda?
I'll make that motion.
Trustee Corkery, do we have a second?
I'll second.
Trustee Alfano, any questions or comments? Okay, seeing none, Clerk Kornecki, please.
Trustee Patrick,
Yes.
Trustee Kumar,
Yes.
Trustee Cordova?
Yes.
Trustee Kozar?
Yes.
Trustee Alfano?
Yes.
Trustee Corkery?
Yes.
President Kazone?
Yes. Okay, we'll go to item 10, ordinances. We have an ordinance approving the annexation of the property located adjacent to 600 North Villa Avenue. Major Harline.
This ordinance approves petition PZ 2402 for annexation of 4 properties adjacent to 600 North Villa Avenue on Manor Lane as shown in Exhibit A. The Planning and Zoning Commission recommended approval by a vote of 7-0, and staff recommends approval of this ordinance. Community Economic Development Director Mark McLaughlin is also here if you have any questions. Again, we recommend approval of this annexation.
Okay, thank you. Okay, do we have a motion for the ordinance? Trustee Corkery, second. Trustee Kumar.
Yeah.
Okay, questions or comments?
Why are we annexing this property that's green when we're talking about green space for some other construction? My question.
Turn this over
I
to
just want to
Dr.
know.
McLaughlin.
Yeah, the village has received a petition for annexation. It's not village-owned property, it's privately owned property. And they own the adjacent property that's already in the village.
Oh, okay.
So they're annexing it to, as you can see in the next agenda item, is to develop the site.
Okay, any other questions? Okay, Clerk Herneke.
Okay, Trustee Cordova?
Yes.
Trustee Alfano?
Yes.
Trustee Kozar?
Yes.
Trustee Kumar?
Yes.
Trustee Patrick?
Yes.
Trustee Corkery?
Yes.
President Kazone?
Yes. Okay, item 12B is an ordinance approving a zoning map amendment for the property located adjacent to 600 North Villa Avenue. Manager Harline.
This ordinance approves petition PZ 2402 for a zoning map amendment from residential single dwelling district, 10,000 square feet, RS10, to light industrial M1. Planning and zoning recommended approval by a vote of 7-0, and staff recommends approval of this ordinance. This gives zoning to the property that we were just now discussing annexing. If you have any questions, again, Director McLaughlin is here.
Okay, do we have a motion for the ordinance? Trustee Corkery, do we have a second? Okay, Trustee Cordova. Okay, questions or comments? Okay, seeing none, Clerk Herneke.
Trustee Kozar?
Yes.
Trustee Kumar?
Yes.
Trustee Alfano?
Yes.
Trustee Patrick?
Yes.
Trustee Corkery?
Yes.
Trustee Cordova?
Yes.
President Kazone?
Yes. And item 12C is ordinance approving a plat of subdivision, special use, and variation for the property located at 600 North Villa Avenue. Manager Harline.
This ordinance approves position PZ 2402 for a plat of subdivision per Exhibit B, a special use for outdoor equipment and material storage, and a variation from Section 7.6.1 to allow parking in a street yard, both per Exhibit C. Planning and zoning recommended approval by a vote of 7-0, and staff recommends approval of this ordinance. If you have any questions, again, Director McLaughlin is here.
Okay, thank you. Okay, we have a motion for the ordinance. Trustee Cordova?
Yep.
We have a second.
A second.
Trustee Kozar? Okay, questions or comments? Okay, seeing none, Clerk Herneke.
Okay, Trustee Corkery?
Yes.
Trustee Patrick?
Yes.
Trustee Alfano?
Yes.
Trustee Kozar?
Yes.
Trustee Cordova?
Yes.
Trustee Kumar?
Yes.
President Kazone?
Yes. Okay, we'll go on to item 13A, is a resolution approving and adopting the 2024 through 2028 strategic plan for the Village of Villa Park. Manager Harline.
The village has conducted a process to develop a strategic plan and has the plan ready for adoption if the board is satisfied. The board asked for updated information about when baseline data would be available and had some questions about the vision, mission, and value statements. Staff recommends approval of the plan with the changes proposed. On pages 128 through 130 of the agenda, the updates for key outcome indicators and targets are there on those pages. We do not have a baseline yet. Where we do not have a baseline yet, a date is given for when we expect to have the information to set the baseline for the data, such as the number of vacancies in commercial properties. we don't have that baseline yet. There's also proposed language for edits to vision mission. Once the plan is adopted, we can begin to collect data and measure progress towards the goals developed during the process. In order to keep the public informed about the process, the staff has begun to look at options for developing a dashboard to make the information available on the village website. No funds were budgeted for a dashboard solution, so if we have to go out for a outside solution, that could delay the launch, or we could find, the cost should be low enough that we could find funds in this year's budget to launch 3 months after the adoption of the plan. It'd take about 3 months to set something up. Corey Plash will be returned to meet with the board to review the data after the first quarter, to review how we're going through the process and to make sure we're well into implementation, so that we actually implement and keep this plan in the forefront. And that's it.
Okay, thank you. Okay, do we have a motion for the resolution? Trustee Kumar, we have a second? Trustee Corkery, questions or comments? Trustee Kozar?
So I made a number of suggestions. After talking with trustees and reading this. And then Harline sent me a email saying that some of them would be changed on this document. So it doesn't look like anything's been done since I've submitted those changes. Additionally, one of those changes was the picture on page 4 that basically sum up our vision, mission, and values. Should not be a bunch of people drinking beer. I don't have a problem with people drinking beer, but that's not who we are as Villa Park, and I don't think that's who we want to present ourselves out to be. I mean, I know the liquor commissioner has handed out a whole bunch of liquor license in his term so far, but I just disagree that we are a community of what that picture represents. It's not a bad picture, it can go somewhere else, but it's not appropriate for vision, mission, and values. So under vision, for all of these, I mean, the excuse that, you haven't been recognized, Harline, I'm still talking.
Manager Harline, please. Please call him Manager Harline.
Manager Harline.
Thank you.
You haven't been recognized. So, the email that I got back from Manager Harline was that he was concerned that we would hurt the feelings of staff who contributed to this. But that contradicts also what Manager Harline said, which was the village trustees need to own this strategic plan. And that's what we're trying to do here. So after suggesting that I was going to make changes, having been asked for those changes, submitting those changes, nothing is out here about those changes. So let's take some time and work through all of it, because apparently, I don't even know apparently, but we're going to start at the beginning with vision. First of all, anybody who reads this knows that it's Villa Park. So we don't have to reiterate in all of these, Villa Park will be it's Villa Park. And I disagree. Villa Park will be a vibrant and prosperous, family-oriented community. We are a vibrant, prosperous, family-oriented community. This is not something we aspire to be, we are. My suggestion was our vision to offer a safe, prosperous, family-oriented community that is innovative, resilient, environmentally conscious, and provides a high quality of life. Under mission, they have it written, a village that cares. Again, Villa Park is committed to. We don't need to use Villa Park. If you're reading this and you don't know what village it is that this is about, I think we've got bigger issues here. So my suggestion on mission is we are committed to transparency, communication, excellence in public service, being stewards of community resources, and providing support and opportunity for our residents and businesses. Values. Again, we're using Villa Park in the definition. We are welcoming in Villa Park. Unnecessary. My suggestion is, welcome home, exclamation mark. All are accepted, safe in their identities, and valued for one's unique and individual perspective. Under service, I think we have the same thing. We are dedicated to being empathetic as we care for our community. Integrity. My suggestion is we demand honesty, transparency, and ethical behavior of all staff and elected officials. We don't need, as it's written here, we don't need constant courage. We need to demand honesty. And we need to demand ethical behavior. And if we don't have those, we don't need those people either working for our village or representing our village. So it is something that we should demand. Stewardship. My suggestion on stewardship is that we are committed to the efficient, respectful, and careful use of the resources entrusted in our care. Adaptability. My suggestion is we encourage innovation and creative problem solving in our approach to the changing needs of our community. So I ask the board to reflect on those, and if we are going to adopt this, that those changes or something substantially similar to those changes be made. And if I am hurting the feelings of staff, I apologize. It's not intended to hurt the feelings of staff, but the trustees need to own this. They need to own the vision, mission, and values, because we are the elected officials. And we can work with village staff. I have no problem with that, but we are the leaders of the community. The tail does not wag the dog. Thank
Trustee
you.
Kozar, are you making a motion to make those changes to the strategic plan as you just stated?
I am making that motion. However, I reserve in that motion a new picture that is not alcohol related to be on that page. So until we find that, I think we need to either postpone this till we get an appropriate picture. Yes, I think we need to postpone this till we have an appropriate picture, unless somebody has a suggestion of what a appropriate picture would be, or we just remove the picture in its entirety. So I'll make two motions. One motion is for the language, as I stated.
Well, let's deal with that
Okay.
then first. Is that,
Okay, so there's a motion to change the language as requested by trustee Kozar. Do we have a second for that motion? Trustee Alfano.
I will second that motion.
Okay. We have discussion on that? Trustee Patrick.
Thank you. And I know this is somewhat related to the motion that is currently here. But in the past, I have had conversations with each and every one of these trustees about if they feel that they need more time to look over information or make a decision on a certain topic, that I would be more than supportive to support that endeavor by whether that's tabling or whatever we have to do. And I have some of my own reservations that I would like to look into further. So I personally would ask for the favor in return to say I need a little bit more time to dive into this. And I don't mind voting on this right now, on this if we have to, but I would essentially, if I have the opportunity, make a motion to table this until our July 22nd meeting.
I'll second
That's
that
mine.
motion.
okay, so trustee Patrick, you've made a motion to postpone it to the July 8th meeting?
I want to say the July 22nd meeting.
July 22nd. And that's been seconded by trustee Kozar.
Yes.
And the motion to postpone actually supersedes the preceding motion to amend. So this board will be able to vote on the motion to postpone.
Okay. Okay, so now we have a motion to, I'm sorry. Well,
Any discussion?
okay.
I have discussion also that I want to involve in this. because there are certain things that came up as I looked at it. The pictures are a little bit dated and old, and if we're proceeding as this is a document for the future, I want some of our future pictures in there as well. So the park that you've chosen, why not choose Lufkin? We're talking about Lufkin being redone. Let's put that as the picture for the park that's chosen. There's a total lack of diversity, okay, in this, the pictures that have been chosen. Also, our staff is diverse, the people of our community is diverse. Let's also include that. I think it gives a warm feeling when you see a diverse picture somewhere in this. So the language we can discuss more, but even the pictures are not where I want them to be. And I think, honestly, a lot of people don't read the words. Everybody looks at the pictures. So it's very important from the perspective of Villa Park to be cognizant of what our town is in terms of diversity and include something to that effect in the strategic plan. So, and I can agree. What I would love to change is that picture with everyone holding alcohol to something which shows our diversity as a town. Now, what that is, I think our staff is good at kind of figuring out what that'll be. It could even be a picture of our staff. Our staff is wonderfully diverse as it is, but I would not, I think that needs a change, certainly.
Okay. Trustee Alfano.
I do think that it's really important that we table this discussion because I think that there are a lot more discussions to be had and some editing that needs to be done. But I also do share the frustration of being told that we own this and we do need to take responsibility of this. And then we don't have the discussion via email, but we are privy to those emails. And then reading that, well, but we don't really have that ownership. And I'm confused as to why. I'm confused as to why I'm being told one thing and then told another. And so I really do appreciate that we are tabling this, or that we have that motion to table. I think that that's important. And I think that we should, everybody here, have that conversation.
Okay. Major Holland, go ahead.
If I could, the edits that Trustee Kozar suggested, as I said when I was giving the introduction to this document, can be found on pages 128 through 130 of the agenda. We did not get each one of these to go back to the typeset to the CP2 and get a new color document created. We get 3 runs at it, and we've taken the first one. The picture will be removed, as I had said. Those edits will be put in that place for the vision and the mission as put in on page 128 through 130. And to characterize it as saying we're going to hurt the feelings of staff, I think is not coming close to what I put in my email. What I said was on the February 24th Saturday, we left the building, and because the staff had already been spending about a year working on the mission, on the value statements, and because we came to an agreement when we left there that the staff would continue to craft the value statements and bring them forward, the staff has put a lot of time and effort into coming up with that direction. And saying that you will, transparent is the law, but how that actually takes place and the values and describing what that means that every day that our staff, one way or another, the police, the fire, people in protective inspection, are asked to do things or asked to do something that is, maybe you can overlook this, maybe we don't need to do this. And that's why we came up with the term constant courage. That means something to us. So that's what that is. That's the one thing we wanted. But if you want to erase that from this document and erase the staff and say that's not important, we can move forward. The document is dated April 15th, and I agree about the comment about there could be more diversity. These pictures were submitted in January. as we were getting started with this process. We can come up with new pictures, that's no problem. I agree that we can come up with a better picture for the values page. We just didn't do a full new version until we had I wanted to get the rest of the text down. We can spend, a long time wordsmithing this with at least 9 people making edits to it, and that's fine. But we can't start collecting data and working on this plan until we adopt it. So if we need another month or something to come up with the things that you want to see changed, the pictures, we can come up with new pictures. It's a little difficult to take pictures of, right now, Lufkin Park's a construction site, but it doesn't, having pictures of ongoing construction can be worked in there. That's not a problem. I urge you, so the document's dated April 15th. Today is June 24th, to get those comments in so we can move forward with this document. But I intend to change my edits on pages 128 through 130, included those updates you asked, included the changes to the mission and vision. It did not include the changes to the values. And so it's a little bit more than just hurting the feelings of staff. It's not what we said we were going to do on February 24th, based on my conversation, based on my memory of my conversation with Corey Plash. But it is true. You guys get the final vote. You get the final vote. So I don't get too worked up about much stuff, but we put a lot of effort into that, and that's why it was important to me.
Okay, thank you. Trustee Alfano.
Thank you. Manager Harline, I agree you don't get worked up on very many things, and so I'm curious about the constant courage. Can you, if you could you tell us more about where that came from with the staff? Because I do want to honor the staff, and I want to honor what their thoughts are.
So when we left on the 24th, there was a bunch of things that still needed to be tweaked in terms of the exact key outcome indicators and how we were going to measure those and targets, and the values were still not quite finished. So we worked on it during staff meetings. Corey came in a couple times. We worked on it some other times. So yeah, that piece the staff had worked on. Again, you guys do get the final say, but I just want you to understand that those words are important, and exactly for those reasons that I don't remember exactly which one of the staff, I kind of remember, I don't want to get it wrong, came up with those words. Are not my words. And another one that when we started talking about the values over a year ago, I'm going to pick on one member of my team, and that's Chuck Howard. The importance of curiosity in coming up with adaptable things, which is something we talked about that Saturday, and that it is important, and things that I learned from my staff, I learned from you guys that day. It is important to be able to be adaptable, to come up with new solutions, because if there are guardrails, there are rules, there are state and federal, local laws we have to follow, but within those we try and come up with clever solutions and use curiosity and some of those other values. So that's where I am, and if it was just me, I don't care. I mean, it's not about me. It's not about now. But but there's some other people who I'm trying to speak for. So, and I'm good now.
No, and I
said my piece.
appreciate that, because I think that it's important that we hear that aspect too. These are words on a page. We would not know that if we didn't have that discussion. So thank you.
Good. Trustee Kumar.
I think the end all is there is just need to be a little bit more discussion in this, and we didn't hear that till today, right? We did not hear how much the staff is involved in some of these words and how important some of these words are to the staff. We value all of the staff input, as well as I think it's a team effort, and we believe ourselves to be a team here. So I understand some of the wordsmithing may not be something that we're going to agree with, but I think that wordsmithing is necessary still, because this is a team thing. If courage needs to be there, constant courage needs to be there. If there's something else that's very important to the board at large, as we talk about transparency, I think that needs to be there as well. So I think we think of this, it's not only a document that's making us move forward, it is also a marketing document for our town. It has a lot of value, apart from just, putting it on the page, getting it. I understand we're trying to get our goals met, but it works to market our town at large as well. So we want to do that in the right way possible. If we need a little bit more time and you don't start on all the goals tomorrow, especially, I think we as a board will consider that okay, given that we're stopping this process at this time. We're not going to judge the staff or judge our town at large. Let's get it right. That's all I feel. And I'm going to vote, if we go for a vote now on that, I will vote to give us some more time, because I think a lot of things that get brought up by each of us can make this document just a tiny bit better. And it is a document for the next 5 years. It's not a document for now. So just let's get it right. That's all I think.
Okay. So we have a motion to postpone until our July 22nd meeting that's on the floor. Do we have a second for that?
We have a second.
We did get a second. I'm sorry. Okay.
We just need to vote.
Okay. All right. Any other discussion? Trustee Kozar.
Yeah, Manager Harlan, I think you're mischaracterizing your own email that you sent on May 31st. And on May 31st, you could have spoke about constant courage or any other things that was in there. But your words, the staff developed a lot of ownership during the subsequent process. Editing them now would devalue the staff process, which would run counter to what our strategic goals of workforce development. Speaking for Corey, it would not only send the message to the department heads and staff that their contribution is not wanted, Corey would also not be comfortable professionally changing the process approved at the retreat to have the staff complete the value statement. So, those were your words, and that's where I got the hurt feelings comment from it. We paid $32,500. It's for this strategic plan. It's the board's strategic plan, and I agree. We should continue this, and we should continue the discussion. But I needed to clarify your email.
Right. Okay. Any other discussion? Okay. Clerk Krenneke. This is a motion to postpone until the July 22nd meeting.
Yes. Trustee Cordova,
Yes.
Trustee Kumar,
Yes.
Trustee Alfano,
Yes.
Trustee Patrick,
Yes.
Trustee Corkery,
Yes.
Trustee Kozar,
Yes.
President Cassell.
Yes. Okay, so we will bring this up. I'll talk to the manager too. Maybe we'll have a COW on this in July to discuss it first, so we can get
Okay.
discussion on it.
Okay.
We'll talk
We
about
have some
that.
other topics for July, but we can add that too.
Okay. All right, item 13B is a resolution approving an engineering agreement with Edwin Hancock Engineering Company of Westchester, Illinois for Phase 2 and Phase 3 engineering for the North Wisconsin Avenue Improvement Project in the amount not to exceed $138,665. Manager Harlan.
This is a resolution to approve the village president entering into a professional engineering agreement with Edwin Hancock Engineering Company for the Phase 2 design and Phase 3 construction oversight engineering services for North Wisconsin Avenue Improvement Project in the amount not to exceed $138,665. The North Wisconsin Avenue Improvement Project is proposed rehabilitation of the roadway from Vermont Road to Ridge Avenue with anticipated construction in the late fall of 2024 or early spring of 2025. Staff recommends approval.
Okay, thank you. Okay, do we have a motion for the resolution? Trustee Patrick?
Mr. President, I'd like to make that motion.
Okay, do we have a second? Trustee Alfano?
I'll second.
Questions or comments? Trustee Cordova?
Just a quick one. North Wisconsin is in bad shape. Those people are going to really, really love this improvement when it gets done. I've fielded numerous calls about Wisconsin and that street in general, so glad that we're here. So yes, kudos to everyone, staff, getting this done.
Okay, thank you. Trustee Kumar?
One of the comments I got when I was running for office, the very first comment I got was from someone who said Wisconsin has never been fixed. So this is going to be taken well. I think It's something that's been on the docket, so I'm very happy we're getting to that.
Okay, thank you. Okay. Clerk Heinecke.
Hey, trustee Corkery,
Yes.
trustee Patrick,
Yes.
trustee Kumar,
Yes.
trustee Kozar,
Yes.
trustee Cordova,
Yes.
trustee Alfano,
Yes.
President Kazal.
Yes. Okay, item 14A, unfinished business, is a comprehensive plan presentation and discussion about vision, goals, policies, and the preliminary land use memo. And we'll turn it over to Manager Howland.
Director of Community and Economic Development, Mark McLaughlin, will introduce our guest from House of Levine. But the idea is to introduce some key concepts and have a free discussion about some of these ideas, like areas of focus. And I'm going to turn it over to Director McLaughlin.
I'd like to introduce Josh again from House of Levine. He'll be taking you through the memo in a short presentation.
Thank you to the board for having us here tonight. Really appreciate giving us some time for this important document for the village, and excited to go through some of what we've been working on with all of you. If this doesn't work, you can just drive that.
I'll stand here like a clicker.
Next slide.
So, yeah, we're working pretty well together. He can probably read when the next slide's coming. So, quick agenda, just a little update on the process, what we've been doing so far with this, this plan document. Want to review the vision statement for the comprehensive plan, the goals, and go through some of the preliminary land use influences and our preliminary draft of the future land use map for the comprehensive plan document, and then touch on next steps with you all. So for the planning process, you probably remember this from when we were first out. We're in a 6-step overall process, but I think we mentioned this before. Really, we're just trying to do 3 things within this document. First, establish where we are today. We did that. We prepared a baseline of existing conditions. You could think of it almost as the book report on the village. Everything we need to know before we get into visioning, goals, key recommendations, and actually doing planning. And right now we're in that pivotal sort of second phase of the project. We're in the second of 3 phases, defining where we want to go. So we're actually getting into drafting a long-range vision for a 20-year land use plan, and putting in some goals that the village can work toward and actionable recommendations. So just zoom in there, but before we get into this, Mark asked me to put this up front. If you've reviewed this memorandum, which I believe should be in your packet, there is a note here that I just wanted to call out. Working with staff, we're referring to the area around the metro station as the Uptown District in the plan. Again, I do want to stress before we get into any of this that everything that we have in here is in draft, and part of this process is seeking feedback from staff, PZC, and ultimately the village board before it's adopted. So when you see Uptown District, that's kind of how, in the document at least, we're talking about that area around the metro station. And then Old Town District, Old Town, the Villa Avenue area, that business district around St. Charles Road to the north, Monterey to the east, Myrtle to the west, and Park Boulevard to the south. So those are 2 new names, ways that we're referring to these places in this document right now. So for a vision statement for a comprehensive plan, you were just discussing your vision statement for the strategic plan. This is a little bit different. We're looking out long range. This is a 20-year document specifically for land use and some of the supporting key elements of the village, housing and neighborhoods, economic development, transportation, parks, recreation, and open space, and community facilities. So we're at a higher level. We're looking, kind of, sometimes we say at the 30,000-foot level, we're looking at the whole village and how are these elements going to play into the village over the next 20 years. And what do we want to see? What are our collective desires for our physical built environment over the next 20 years? The vision statement is the foundation for the goals, the key recommendations, and actions. Those all sort of fit underneath this lofty and aspirational vision statement. So again, this is in the draft memorandum that you all should have received, but I do want to just read it and maybe take some reactions from you all. So over the last century since its incorporation, the village of Villa Park has experienced growth within its population, economic base, and geographic size to become home to nearly 22,000. Over the coming decades, the village will continue its tradition of providing high-quality housing, commercial and retail areas, regional connectivity, municipal services, and amenities. The village will provide a range in its housing stock that welcomes and attracts people in all stages of life, ensuring anyone can call Villa Park home. The village will promote and support its commercial corridors to grow as regionally recognized activity centers, known for its year-round activities, local businesses, diverse commercial offerings, and cultural events. The village will connect housing stock, commercial corridors, and local amenities through a multimodal network, giving residents the option to comfortably walk, bike, drive, or take transit. Known as the Garden Village, Villa Park will provide superb recreational spaces while strategically expanding offerings to ensure all residents have access to green space. Villa Park will offer a unique experience and a sense of community for residents and visitors drawn to its picturesque neighborhoods, attractive retail areas, high-quality parks and recreation, first-rate school system, and diverse cultural offerings. And I should have mentioned this at the beginning. I didn't have a slide for it, but part of a significant portion of the input to a lofty vision statement like this is the outreach that we've conducted so far. So business community workshop, a visioning workshop, and a variety of online outreach tools. That's where we've taken in feedback from the community and incorporated it into a vision statement that's specific to the village. So goals. When we're thinking about a goal for a comprehensive plan like this one, I like to have the illustration of a runner up. One of the things I like to say is like a goal of a 6-minute mile. There was a time in my life when I was close to that, but since then I've had a couple kids. I'm 40 years old. I'm not getting as much sleep as I used to. I'm not running as often as I used to. But a goal of a 6-minute mile is still an achievable goal for a human being to run. And I could start to work toward that goal even at age 40. I could start doing some things to counteract what I have been doing. And there's steps that I can take to work toward an actionable goal of running a 6-minute mile. So if the vision statement is very lofty and aspirational, and if we just stopped at the vision statement for a comprehensive plan, which is supposed to be physical and guide the development and direction of the village, you'd say, well, how are we going to do all that stuff? Some of it is stuff we're already doing. Some of it seems, we need some direction. We need some steps to take. The goals are the next tier down. They should be somewhat achievable, and there should be actionable steps underneath them that we can work toward. So I'm going to run through the goals that we prepared, and again, you'll see how these align with the different sections of your of the comprehensive plan document that we're preparing. So a goal for land use and development is to facilitate land use and development patterns that allow the village's unique aspects to flourish, with a range of complete neighborhoods, commercial districts, employment areas, and an emphasis on protecting Villa Park's Garden Village identity. And then within your memorandum, you'll see there's a few bullet points underneath each of these. A way that I'm not going to go through each one of those for the sake of time tonight. Of course, if you have any questions about any of them, please feel free to interrupt me and ask. A way to think about those is we're starting to frame out the content that's going to go in the chapter. So in the land use chapter that has the future land use map and this overall goal, what are some of these key policies or key recommendations? Think of this as like the start of the outline for the land use chapter. So you'll see things like encourage infill development, considering that the village is generally mostly landlocked, considering strategic annexation of unincorporated land where you can. promoting higher density residential and mixed-use development around the Uptown District, that metro area, historic Ardmore. So that's what the nature of those key recommendations. How are we going to work toward this goal of, for land use and development? The next one. So our goal for housing and neighborhoods is to encourage the strategic infill and development of complete neighborhoods that provide a variety of attainable housing choices for people in all stages of life, from youth to seniors and from singles to families, and ensure access to key amenities, commercial areas, and personal services. And then there's a set of those key policies underneath that goal. For economic development, stimulate economic growth by placing emphasis on new small businesses, job creation, and creating experiential corridors that focus on creating memorable and engaging customer experiences rather than just selling products. And there's a set of actionable policies underneath that goal. For transportation, provide a safe and well-connected multimodal network that connects all areas of Villa Park and major destinations beyond, accommodating all modes of travel, including walking, biking, transit, and driving. And there's a set of, again, key policies for transportation. And then community facilities and public infrastructure. Provide facilities, services, and infrastructure that both meet the needs of current residents and lay the groundwork for potential residents through continued investment and planning. And there's similarly a set of policies for facilities and public infrastructure. I do just want to pause and see if there's any questions about the vision and the goals and any of the key policies that you saw in the memorandum.
Trustee Cordova.
So I read this earlier today. It's pretty comprehensive. For those key policies for economic development, I have questions very specific to some of these. What would be the best way for me to get some, instead of, this is not the way, like.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I guess another thing I want to mention, we've reviewed this with staff, and then we, was that 2 weeks ago? We were here with PZC, and we gave them a homework assignment, get your written feedback to staff or notes or comments. And I think the same would go to you all. If you have any comments you want to see incorporated or thoughts on what you've read, we'd definitely welcome those. And the best way to get them straight to us would be to get them over to Mark and his department, and we'll work through them for sure.
Yeah, and it's not like challenging anything. It's like wanting to learn a little bit more about it. There's some really great points of these policies, which can be, I mean, each one of these points could be an hour-long conversation. But okay, I'll get it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we can coordinate and talk through anything.
Yeah,
you need to.
it's more of just understanding like how, I get the policies. It's like just a very specific example. I mean, it was housing and neighborhoods. It's develop a, nope. There, it's within land use and development. We don't have to go anywhere in this, but it was, promoting higher density residential mixed use development around, and then it has everything. We've had a little bit of pushback on some of that stuff here, and I think it has a lot more to do with transparency and like, in some of these, like create a marketing program or create a marketing campaign. And that's, I think, how and why we get pushback on some of this, where it's literally people just not understanding what we're trying to get done or what we're doing and the why behind it. And I think this actually does kind of break it down. So, yeah, we've gotten pushback on a couple developments here, and I think it has a lot to do with the misunderstanding of what's going in, why is it going in, things like that. So just more curiosity and questions like that.
I like that you chose that as an example. One of the things that we're going to be doing in this planning effort is to do some sub-area planning. So we're doing, if we're at 30,000 feet village-wide, we're going to zoom in on some of these key areas, and that really speaks to being a landlocked community, having only a few developable areas, and you want to get it right. So what we can do in those sub-areas, and we're going to do, is get a little more detailed and even provide some 3D visualizations. Well, high density, that's a scary term. What could that actually look like? What is high density for Villa Park, or how do we get that development around that area correct in a way? And we can show some examples of what that might look like, so that when ultimately a developer does come forward, you can measure it against this document, which is exactly what it's for.
Okay. Trustee Alfano.
Thank you. I I think going to what trustee Cordova was talking about, I think that this plan will help with people understanding what the plan is, because for so long it has been, oh, this is going to happen, there's going to be this project, and then this is going to happen. And it just kind of feels like things pop up without any rhyme or reason. And so having this comprehensive plan, I think, is going to help greatly in people understanding that there is a plan and here's why it is necessary and here's what we're thinking and what the goal of these developments might be. So I think this is needed and has been needed for a long time. Thank you for taking the time to do that. I did have one question, and one of the things that you had mentioned kind of quickly, you had talked about all residents having access to green spaces. Is there a baseline for city planning as to like what the proximity, what like the best proximity for green space to residents?
I
would
couldn't
be?
quote it for you exactly.
Yeah.
And there may be people in this room who know the baseline
Okay.
even better than I do, but the old, 5 to 10 minute walk, if you want to be able to walk 5 minutes or 10 minutes, you might walk 5 minutes to a pocket park, you might be willing to walk 10 minutes to a larger park with more amenities, and after that, people are going to start driving.
Okay.
That's kind of how it's measured, and I believe we did,
And then on that, I like to use this, instead of minutes, I convert it to quarter mile, half mile.
Okay.
So
that's,
similar idea, it's just then I can map it.
I think in the existing conditions memorandum, we did a walk shed analysis where we actually use a network analysis and look at park entrances. So the classic example is not so much the case in Villa Park, but would be like, oh, if you look at the map, there's a massive park right across a highway, but you can't actually get to it because you have to get in your car, drive around, get off the interchange to get to it. So that would be an example of a network analysis. And most neighborhoods in the village are pretty well served, if I remember correctly, without looking at that map. And you're gonna, being landlocked, you're gonna have to be very strategic about where you might carve out that park space long-term as property becomes available, should it ever become available, so.
Thank you.
Trustee Kumar.
Yeah, the park space is something that is concerning. I've had, this weekend, when I was at Summerfest, there was a lot of discussion about the lack of open park space, how we're making our park space more flexible in one sense, I understand, to address more communities. We are losing a lot of things, like football fields, with our new expansions in different terms, and with our community. So that's something that has been concerning to people. Flexible use of our park space is something that I feel is necessary. Anything we put in anywhere has to be flexible, multi-use, and long-term used consistently. Otherwise, there's no point, in my opinion. And so that's something we need to kind of think about as we go on. From the perspective, a lot of the stuff in this document is very enlightening, very well done. I have to say, does give us a good roadmap to work off of as a community. And I'm looking forward to where this takes us.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? Good.
Okay, thank you. I'll keep going. So part of this, we like to pair this, again, we're in that where do we want to go phase of the project. So we like to pair the vision and goals with something that's a little more tangible. So often we prepare this memo, vision, goals, and the preliminary future land use map for the village. So when you look at future land use, what we're doing in a future land use map is we're describing the character of land use and future development. Again, it's based on existing land use patterns and context. So we're looking at your existing built form when we think about future land use. That gets at what does density mean for Villa Park versus density for Evanston or something like that. It's a foundation for future decision making, and we're actually starting in this memorandum. Obviously, it's not formatted as a plan yet, but we're starting to develop content that will go into your comprehensive plan. I like to show this slide just because often people start to see colors on a map when we start to talk about it in terms of zoning, but we are specifically talking about a land use framework here on the left. So a land use map and land use framework like this, again, describes the desired future development pattern for Villa Park. Where and how should the village develop, redevelop, and specifically infill in a community like Villa Park. Zoning is your regulatory document. It regulates what kind of uses are permitted on specific parcels, sets the design and development standards, requirements, density, parking, signage, landscaping, setbacks. So a zoning map is a little bit different. It's if the future land use map is the should statements put to a map, the zoning map is the shall statements. It's what the village actually regulates. You need your zoning to be, if you want to achieve this future vision and this future land use map, your zoning is going to need maybe some tweaks at the end of this to achieve the kind of vision. Make sure you have the districts to implement the kind of development we want to see.
Maybe even more than tweaks some places.
Yeah, a lot of zoning codes have been Frankenstein together since the 1960s. I don't know if I have the stats on Villa Parks, but that's very common. So yeah, it's not unusual. Part of the ingredients that go into a future land use map like this is your existing land use. So this was prepared fresh for this effort. Our team, including Nihar, who's here with me, did a full community field reconnaissance, driving up and down every street that we could, taking photos, and getting a sense of actually what's on the ground and along each and every street. So this represents a 2024 look at your existing land use, what's on the ground today, part of that baseline of existing conditions. We also took a look at several other what we call land use influences. So community like Villa Park, significantly different than a rural farm town in Colorado where you could grow out in any direction that you want, with your only impacts being how much of the natural environment how much of it you're using up. So you need to develop and redevelop strategically, because you only have a few available parcels for development within your village boundary, and a few areas where you might annex outside of your municipal boundary. There's an opportunity for transit-oriented development, and again, you want that development around your metro station to be context sensitive, specific to Villa Park. You want it to say Villa Park. You don't want it to be monolithic or look like what other communities necessarily have done in the region. You might consider some, I mentioned this already, but strategic expansion in unincorporated areas. And then you're also served with some very significant and important major roadways: Illinois 83, North Avenue, Roosevelt Road, St. Charles Road. These are high traffic, major commercial corridors that both benefit the village, obviously in a lot of ways, and also present some challenges when you think about future land use. So when we kind of put all those ingredients together, what we've produced is a draft preliminary future land use map that assigns a future land use to every parcel in every area within the village. And I'm just going to really quickly run through the definitions that we prepared to go along with these. So single dwelling, the most prominent existing land use in the village is single family housing. Anticipated that will probably stay the same. It's one of the village's assets as people come to live in Villa Park because they want to live in a single family neighborhood, and that's likely to stay over the next 20 years. So you can see each definition has kind of a definition of what we're talking about, and then an intent statement. What do we want to see for the future? Go to the next one. Multi-dwelling. Along some of those high traffic corridors in some of these key nodes within some of these sub areas that we're looking at a little closer, there may be some appropriate, more intense residential development that might be appropriate, especially in proximity to transit. Mixed use, you've probably heard the term before, but mixed use can be commercial on the ground floor with often office or residential above. Again, this is like multifamily. This may be appropriate on some of those higher traffic corridors in some of these key nodes. You have some examples of mixed use throughout the community. And again, this taking advantage of the traditional street grid and the excellent transit that you have, this could be an option in some of these areas. Local commercial, local versus regional commercial. Local commercial is the type of commercial that typically people within the community or near proximity are going to purchase their everyday goods or services. You could think of like a dry cleaner or a corner store. A Walgreens would be local commercial. Those are the types of commercial that you might see configured along a corridor, a smaller corridor, or in some smaller neighborhood nodes. Corridor commercial, you have some great examples of this in the village, and that's likely to stay. These are configured typically along, at least in the village, along these major corridors, and you have some major regional options where people are willing to travel from outside of the community to spend money at some of these larger commercial establishments, and we want them to continue to have a home here as well. There is some industrial property. I don't think we expanded any industrial uses, but you would want to see them continue to be able to invest in these employment areas, treat these like campuses, and where there may be adjacent land uses, you want to make sure that those are buffered appropriately, and so that they can continue to be welcome businesses within the village. Utilities pretty much as is. Those are going to stay the same over the next couple of decades. Then public and semi-public, these are grouped together, but we're talking about local government uses, municipal facilities, community service providers, and things like that. These are located throughout the village. Often they're integrated within residential neighborhoods. And you want to make sure that these facilities are supported and preserved over the coming decades. And I think lastly, parks and open space. Again, this goes back to that discussion we were having just a couple minutes ago, but the future land use map largely identifies your current and existing parks and open space areas. There will probably be some discussion for a landlocked community, how you may consider, should a property become available, you might consider it, but unless there's already a village acquired parcel, we typically wouldn't identify and say here is a new park on your future land use map for reasons of a taking, of course. So that is the future land use map. I guess before I move on to next steps, any questions about the point of the future land use map? It really is the vision, goals, and future land use. We really are kind of at a centerpiece of the plan document. Yeah.
So
Sorry.
you just mentioned that with the park spaces that you don't cite a space because it doesn't exist at this point. But do you just say that we're looking for spaces or that kind of stuff, or you just leave it off and say this is all you have and this is what you get in the park? That's kind of the feeling I get here.
No,
Yeah.
so
Let me, real quick, staff is not encouraging that language. We're encouraging the language to make strategic.
realize.
Just want to throw it out there. We've been having this conversation. We can't put it on the map because then.
No, it's not
right?
on the map because you don't
Yeah.
know where it is or what
Right.
you're going to look for. So what is the language
Yeah,
for it?
it'll be through language that the village would like to have X percentage of open space comparable to our built environment, total number of acres based on our population, all those things that says that we are deficient in those, which we've known.
Yeah.
So what we need to strive to.
Okay, that's fine. I mean, I'm fine it's not on the map because who knows where it's going to be in our town or what comes available. But it is a priority of ours, needs to come out in the language somehow, in my opinion.
Yeah. Anything else? Tom?
that's pretty much. So real quickly, next steps. Again, we're getting into the final stretch of this planning process. A focus on folding in any comments, working with staff to refine this so it's ready for incorporation into the draft document. And then we're going to spend our time going forward on sub-area planning, the core elements, which kind of fit under each goal. So housing and neighborhoods, economic development, community facilities, and transportation. We're going to be drafting those core elements or chapters of the document before we bring everything together into the final draft document. I think there's, so We had 2 weeks ago when we were out, we had a great session with Mark and his team, going over maps and doing some detailed sub-area planning. So we're working on preliminary sub-area planning for those key areas that were at the front of this presentation, the 6 different sub-areas along the corridors and around the metro station. So we're going to be developing those, and we're going to review them with staff before they go to review with PZC and the village board. And likewise with the core elements, the chapters of the plan. Again, we'll be developing those, working closely with staff, take them for comment to PZC and then ultimately to you all. I think there's one. Oh, I do want to point out, as we've produced draft content, meeting notes, the existing conditions memorandum that I referenced, everything is available on this website, which I believe is also still front and center on the village's website. So we like to just keep it open and make sure that everybody knows where we are in the process and what we've been doing. So this website is still up and available, and we'll continue to post information on there as we go through the process.
Thank you. It was a very good start over here. Any other questions or comments? Trustee Kumar.
Just thank you for updating us and keeping us in the process. That's all.
Yes.
I just want to add, this is good work.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay. You're good. Thank you. Thanks, Mark.
Absolutely.
Okay, item 14B is an update on enforcement at Strat's Restaurant. Mayor Harline?
I just have Chief Rivas here to give us an update on where we've been with recently with enforcement of the traffic enforcement at Strat's, and also with the change to the ordinance regarding special event permits, and then you know what our future strategies might be. Go ahead.
Well, thank you, Manager Harline. Let's start out the legal process. As I mentioned before in a previous discussion, we had cited Strat's with the 2 citations for 13-1803 for permit required. And there was a judgment on both of those. There was no appearance at the administrative hearing. The judgment was for $750 per citation. As of this morning, they have not paid for those citations. There was another citation issued a week or so ago, and that next administrative hearing is going to be on July 18th. You know, we've had questions and concerns and commentary of why are we not citing them every weekend. I think you have to balance enforcement with discretion as well as not being overbearing. I think Strat's and his people understand what we want of them. We've been having discussions with them, with their management. We're almost at the finish line. Friday and Saturday, as far as traffic enforcement, we had 11 traffic stops. We had 8 warnings, 3 hard copy citations, actual citations. You know, in light of everything that's happened at that location, we've had 3 deaths. 1 that was in front of his business, 1 that was a little bit further down in Villa, and 1 that was much further west on North Avenue. North Avenue has high speeds, and you're going to have those kinds of accidents, unfortunately. You know, that comes with those kinds of speeds. We are concentrating on traffic and trying to slow cars down. I think the amount of people that are saturated in that area is also going to help slow cars down. The latest incident that happened is currently still under investigation, so I'm limited in all the things I can talk about as far as that goes. So, are there any questions?
Is there anything any more that we can do to prevent patrons from going on neighboring properties? I'm getting feedback from a lot of the businesses there on North Avenue that, you know, these people are going into their parking lots and parking there, and can we increase tickets there, or, you know, because the ordinance does say about parking and adjacent property owners.
Correct.
A lot of the adjacent businesses are very concerned that it's affecting their business, and we don't want to see any of those businesses be leaving.
Well, in addition to the businesses are the residents that are directly behind and in the corridor. And I live close by, and I hear all the noise as well. One of the things that the business could always have afforded to them is to start towing cars from their own property. There is a strong reluctance for those businesses to do that for fear of reprisal, and I understand that. We can start ticketing some of those vehicles, but as we said before, I don't want to, and I'm reluctant to have my officers get into a situation where it's one officer being faced with 200, 300 people. And that's what you'd have at a Target or any of the businesses in the corridor. One or two of the businesses have hired our officers back to keep vehicles out of their lot. We've had people put up a metal corridor or metal gates at Range USA. That's gone there. We've had cones being put up. I'd say cones is the best way to keep cars out. The greatest challenge for any business is at Crazyport, because people, you have to wait to see where they're going once they get out of their car. And in talking to the management there, we had a long conversation, and I know Trustee Kozar, they also expressed to you those same concerns. And I've known them a long time, and I feel for them. We're getting close to where there's going to be a resolution that I think everybody is going to be happy with. It's just, in the moment, we're going to keep sending cars out there, trying to do as much traffic enforcement as we can. I know you're looking for legal remedies. I think that's up for discussion, and that's where we need to go from here, maybe.
Okay. Trustee Kozar.
Will you be joining us in executive session? We're going to be discussing strats. And I
Yes,
think it would be useful.
we discussed that this afternoon, that I will avail myself, absolutely.
Good, thank you.
Okay, anyone else? Okay, thanks, Chief. Okay, item 14C is a discussion and update on Echo Terra. Manager Harlane.
Hawthorne Development Corporation is here in attendance to answer questions about and they have an updated proposal for amendment to the redevelopment agreement for the Echo Terra project. Staff is seeking direction from the board on how to proceed. They've got a little slideshow they'd like to present, and there's a couple of issues that we can get some direction on and finalize a redevelopment agreement. I think we're much closer than we've been in the 2 years that I've been here. So I'm very encouraged by some of the stuff that's going on right now with the financing. Do you want to, Nick Standiford from.
Hello, I'm Nick Standiford. I'm an attorney at Shane Banks, and I'm an attorney for the developer, EcoTerra. This is Hawthorne Development. This EcoTerra project, as you know, this is, I'm too bad that the land use planner left, because this is a higher density, mixed use, transit-oriented development in the Uptown District. This is what the plan calls for. And it's in keeping with the area. It's right next to the metro station. It's supposed to be the nation's largest net zero green passive house project. So we have goals too. These are big goals, and these are hard goals to achieve. And as you know, we've been through fits and starts with respect to our financing, and in our letter we've described that that's through no fault of our own. These are lenders that when we came to the table to close on the project, they didn't provide the money. So we've been left with the consequences since then. I know this has taken a really long time, and the project is still has a fence around it with construction debris inside of it. And no one likes to look at it at the metro station when they're on the platform. We understand that. But fortunately, when we were here last month, we explained that we've had I would call it a breakthrough. We've had 2 term sheets that have been submitted for the project, and one of which I think we're going to proceed with. We have a $135,000 loan commitment initial fee that we'd like to pay, and we'd like to do that to secure the financing. So we are here asking for an amendment to the redevelopment agreement so we can feel comfortable making that payment. So I've worked with Dr. Vish many years, and as he was here last month, he said, I don't quit. And he hired my firm to do the zoning work to try to get this over the finish line. And he's sitting in front of you here today with passion in his heart to complete this project, and with financing finally that we think can make this work. So we received comments last month about the site maintenance. What we've attempted to do is clean up this site a little bit to make it a little better looking. This was a maintenance report that we submitted to the board on May 20th. These are some pictures showing that the fence was fixed up in areas where it was kind of falling over. We tried to reattach all the windscreens. I went by the site today. I know that the parking area has some weeds in it, And I've been told that there's a contractor that's going to come out and get those down. But that will be maintained. I know it doesn't look good as we sit here today, but I'm told that that'll be fixed up. But as you can see, in May 20th, we made sure that the site was looking better for this summer. As for financing, when we were here last month, we said that we had provided term sheets to the village, actually that day of the board meeting. So Mark didn't have time to review the documents. So he did review those documents, and he provided this cover letter that's right here to Hawthorne. And he said, you know, with our term sheets that we submitted, the expiration dates were coming up or were expired. He said, you need to get from your lenders extensions of those. So we went and we did that, and these are two cover letters that we sent back responding. And I think that the financing that we have in place is satisfactory. I haven't been told anything otherwise, but it seems like what we have, it will make this project go. So with that said, we have the financing in place. Now we need to get our paperwork to support that financing, so we can provide it to the lender and say, here's our agreement with the village to proceed. Here's how you can be comfortable spending your money. So what we've done, and what I've done here is, I took a copy of last slide and I changed it a little bit. Last time I was here, I said that we were within 90 days of the amendment, we'd provide you with proof of financing. So what I'm asking for in this RDA amendment is that actually within 180 days of when this would be effective. So we're looking at maybe seeing if we could have a vote on July 8th, which is in 2 weeks. We were looking to see if we could have provide the financing within 180 days. What does that mean? That means that we'll close on the loan within 180 days. That's about the first week in January 2025. And the reason we said 180 as opposed to 90, we want to build in a little extra time. We'd rather not have to come back and tell the board that we need more time. So we tried to build in more time here. Same with the start of construction and the deed to the parking lot. We know that the parking lot is a huge item for the village. How do we get the parking lot deed, clear title to the parking lot over to the village? Currently, it's under a long-term lease. And the way we do that is we get financing and we close on the financing, because what does that do? It wipes out the bridge loan, and the bridge loan lender has the interest in the parking lot and will release that once the financing closes. So what we'd like to do is, rather than 120 days, a little more time, 180 days. Convey the parking lot, start construction. Start construction, I want to make sure I'm clear on that. So what our thought was is that we would have our building permits applied for, and they would be paid for. There was some discussion. We had previously provided $350,000 in 2022. We talked about paying those in installments. The feedback we got from staff was put it all up at once, the remaining $500. So what we're proposing is, in this amendment here, as you can see right here under C, is to pay the $500,000 at the time of the issuance of the permits. So we pay for the permits, we receive the permits, we get to work. How long will it take to complete the work? We'd like 2 years from the issuance of the permits, and that's in this one down here. So what you see here is in your, you should have received a copy of this proposed RDA amendment language. I tried to keep it pretty straightforward, so that what we were doing is we were taking what was already approved and modifying it with the new dates. So letter A here is, we'll convey the parking area within 180 days. Letter B is we'll have all permits within 180 days. C, we'll have $500,000 paid for the building permits within 180 days. And then we'll convey the parcel, we'll complete the project within 2 years from permits. And then we also ask for the 2015 building code to be applied to the construction of this project. It makes the financing work. If you apply the current code, as opposed to when this was first approved, it's more onerous for us to get this done. So that's basically it in the RDA amendment. And if I've oversimplified it, I'm sorry, but that's what I tried to do. And I think what I'd leave you with is the vision, right? This is a huge development in the heart of Villa Park, in the Uptown District that we just looked at. And we have the financing in place. Give us an opportunity to pull this off, so we can align with the village's vision for the property. And Dr. Vish, I don't know if you wanted to say anything, but Dr. Vishich worked very hard on this project, put in a lot of equity financially and in terms of just stress and time and effort. So he more than anyone wants this to succeed. Okay.
Yeah, that's fine. That's good.
Just wanted to appeal to the board. This has been my life for the past 3 years. After we had some difficulty with the financing, I spent lots of monies, more than $15 million into this project and countless number of sleepless nights. And finally, we are here. Time and money has been spent, but the goal is within its reach at this time. So I appeal to the board that now that we are here, kindly help us with passing the amendment, and we will show you a great building in 2 years.
Okay. Thank you. I appreciate you guys coming tonight. I know we've had a lot of discussions over the last few months, and it's nice. I think we're finally almost there, and I don't know, Director McLaughlin, I think he thinks, hopefully we're almost there. Yeah. But we appreciate your finally, getting up and getting us this information, and I think it looks a lot more promising than it did 2 months ago, and we appreciate all the hard work that you guys have put into it, and all the meetings that we've had and you've had with the director and the manager. I think we are almost there. I personally have talked to Director McLaughlin. I think he's getting on board with this, and like I've told you from the beginning, if you can please him, and if he says it's okay, then I think the board will say it's okay, and I think we're there. So, Trustee Patrick.
Thank you. First of all, I just want to clarify really quick here. You had said that this would be the nation's largest net zero something project. Can you clarify that again real quick?
Nation's largest net zero green passive house project. You'll have to ask Dr. Bish what that means.
I've got an idea of what that means. It just sounds really nice, doesn't it? And also on top of that, though, I mean, this is national recognition, maybe even globally. This is a project that Villa Park really deserves. I am in favor of helping us come to terms with an RDA. I think this is something that Villa Park deserves, and especially the residents that currently have to stare at this vacant lot right now. They deserve this project to come to. So it's important that we do our due diligence on the board and with the staff to make sure that this project does happen. With that being said, one thing that I would like to see some sort of verbiage in a new RDA, being that this also would fall into a TIF district, is that I would like to see some verbiage where the contractor would allow the village to place a couple of project overview signs, much like what they have at the new recreation center. Maybe at each of the main corners or the intersections where people can see this. I would like to see the verbiage in there that they would allow us to put up village signs. But not just that, on the sign, I would like to see a QR code that would be linked to a current project status. Like, if someone wants to know what's the next phase, they can scan the QR code and they'll know exactly what phase we're in and where we're going to be. And I think the village, it wouldn't cost that much to put up a couple of signs like that. But I really would like to see that verbiage in an RDA because our residents have dealt with this for quite a while. Manager Harline had stated that in the 2 years that he had been here, this is the most progress that we have seen so far. So it's frustrating for our residents, and it has been frustrating, but I believe that there is the light at the end of the tunnel, and it's even brighter than it's been before. I'm excited for this project, and I hope Villa Park is too. That's all I have.
If you come, do you think would be amenable to that?
Yeah, so it was interesting, the planner talked about having, kids and running around not having much time to run around. In the weekends, I go to parks all over the suburbs. And Highland Park has a webpage where it laid out what's the status of the park. Everyone was so excited to see what was going on with the park. I know this is a lot bigger than the park in Highland Park, but it was helpful because I was thinking the same thing. You know, what's the next step? And they had pictures of kind of, hey, we just poured the rubberized surface. Next up is the parking equipment.
We're doing that with a couple of our parks now.
Yeah,
so
that's what I think we would need, and I think we can put that language in. That makes a lot of sense to put the signage up and maybe have a web page. Our web page have a site about a section about that. That would be a good idea.
I think we need consensus. Yeah, good. Okay. Trustee Kumar.
I also am excited that finally this project is coming possibly to fruition. I am excited to vote on it. I've been waiting for this project to happen for some time. I'm very excited about the environmental aspects of this project. We are a town which is very concerned about our environment. The fact that it's a net zero project, that they're going for geothermal energy, which I heard recently. All of that makes me very, very happy that this project is coming to Villa Park, hopefully soon. And as a board, I hope that all the ducks line up in a row so that we can vote for this project to go forward and the RDA to happen. Of course, we want staff to weigh in, give us all the input, the correct input that we need so that we can make this happen right. Thank you.
Okay, thanks. Trustee Alfano.
So I have fielded a lot of concern over what's going on with this development, and I have tried to see that in a different light where the concern is really, people have been really excited about this for so long, and it has been a long time. And so I see the concern also as this kind of anticipation where people are like, what's going on already? What's going on already? And I'm really excited to see that we have some movement here. I thank the team for being here and for coming up and clarifying things and for changing the tenor a little bit with the discussion that we've been having. I think that with this, we're moving in the right direction, and I am very excited to see a development like this happen in Villa Park.
Okay. Okay, anyone else? Okay. Thank you. We appreciate you guys coming out tonight, and we'll get things squared away for our next board meeting. Thank you. Okay, we'll move on to item 15A under new business, police staffing issues. Manager Harline.
Well, the police department is requesting to hire a new candidate off the police eligibility list in anticipation of 4 impending openings in 2025. All academies having a similar start dates. A candidate must begin the academy in August in order to be ready, fully trained through FTO training in April 25. So the proposal is to give we have a current authorized staffing level of 39 commissioned officers. This would temporarily increase the number to 40 and overhire until the end of the fiscal year to allow the candidate to enter the academy. We'll address the staffing issue and level and costs for dealing with additional retirements in the 2025 budgeting process. It is with other things that are going on in the police department. I think this is important to do this. This is a cost that is not in the budget, but by limiting the amount of to 1 additional part-time officer and with what we have spent in overtime and other part-time officer costs this year, I think we'll be able to keep it well within the full police budget, and I think that to keep an adequate staff, it's something we need to do anyway. So, and Police Chief Rivas has more information if you allow him to speak.
Thank you, Manager Harline. I promise this is not a state of the police department address. I promise you. I've been here 3.5 years. We've had a great run with staff, where we haven't been struck with being understaffed and scurrying for officers and trying to get people trained up and ready to go, like many of the police departments around us, where they've been 4 and 5 and 6 officers down. We've been very lucky. 2025 coming up, that's going to change, and it's going to create quite a challenge for us. We're potentially losing over 100 years of police experience between all the retirements that we're looking at coming in 2025. It's starting in January and from then on. 2 officers and 2 supervisors. And to a person, all 4 are fantastic individuals and have served this community so very, very well. And we will honor them when it is absolutely appropriate. I promise you that. As Manager Harline said, we would like to get a 40th officer temporarily to get into the academy in August. The officer that is leaving and retiring is going to be leaving in January, as I said, but he's going to be taking his leave with the time that he has on the books in December, so he's going to be gone. And we will no longer have his services, even though he'll still be part of our police department. This allows us to then cut down on the time it takes to train somebody. Even though it takes 4 months in the academy, 4 months in our field training program, it still takes a long time to learn the nuances of what it takes to be a police officer in Villa Park. Our technology, our policies, our procedures, our streets, all those things that go into it to be a qualified police officer and handling the community as a whole. This helps speed up that timeline a little bit. If we were to have a qualified lateral officer, that would speed up that timeline and allow that officer to be qualified sooner. We currently don't have that situation, so we would be looking at our eligibility list. And if, with the board's approval, we have a Fire and Police Commission meeting tomorrow, and it is tentatively on their agenda. I'm not assuming anything, but it's tentatively on their agenda that if the board were to approve it, then we'd have the discussion tomorrow to have the Fire and Police Commission to allow us to do backgrounds on a couple potential candidates to then get them ready, do the backgrounds, and then get someone into the academy in August. And then they'd be finished in December, and then they'd be finishing the field training program in April if all goes well.
Okay. Trustee Patrick.
Thank you. Chief, I really appreciate the forward thinking on this. I understand that the timeline of when we hire an officer until when they become ready to hit the streets can be tricky at times. One of the things that concerns me is that it's not news that people aren't exactly signing up to be police officers these days. And with where we're at, that's a concern. One of the concerns is that also, I believe our eligibility list that we currently have is down to the last 3 candidates, I believe, or right around the end of that list of being exhausted. And one of the things, being a former member of the Police and Fire Commission, that I can recollect was that those lists aren't always certain. And then the names on those aren't always certain. And being that we've gotten towards the bottom of that list now, there's a good potential that if we give the Police and Fire Commission the approval to start background applications and whatnot, that some of those individuals might not even be available for those positions. So when I read our agenda item here, it says the police department is requesting to hire a new candidate off the police eligibility list in anticipation of 4 impending openings in 2025. My concern for the village board and the village manager is why aren't we looking at 4 officers instead of just 1? Now, I understand that budgeting for this becomes a concern. However, what's more concerning is that timeline that I talked to you about. If we exhaust the list, which is a possibility here, if we approve this, is that we are then up against a timeline. Now, if we exhaust that list and we have not done testing for a new list, that adds to that time frame. It makes that timeline even longer. I then get really concerned about when we talk about budgeting, where are we going to find the money for the overtime in the between time when we are lacking these other officers and waiting for a list to be established? So my concern is how much overtime are we willing and looking to spend by dragging out only looking for 1 officer as opposed to the 4 that are impending?
Go ahead.
If I may, just bear in mind, getting to the bottom of the list, Tom Brady was drafted in the 7th round. So just keep that in mind. There's diamonds in the rough. That doesn't concern me where on the list that they place. They could still be qualified candidates. We do keep up with each candidate. So we do ask the question, are you still interested? Are you still committed to possibly joining our organization? So the 3 we have at that point in the list are still interested and still available. We've gotten to that point because we've asked all the other candidates who have since gone in a different direction. So that's what puts us there. The issue with hiring of 4 officers, you suggested, is we don't have any promissory notes. When we did this in the past, when Deputy Chief Runge retired, he had submitted a letter saying a date certain of when he would be leaving. So we knew that, we had that in hand. The people that would potentially be leaving in 2025 are reluctant to do that because times may change and things may happen. So I understand their reluctance to do that. They've given us some roundabout times, but what we have for certain is the first one coming up. The second person on the list of retirees is somewhere in between January and June, and then June becomes the 3rd one, and then the 4th one is going to be in August. I would love to do something like that, but we have to also work with budgetary constraints.
Absolutely, I agree with that, and that's what's the most concerning too. But again, the overtime, and more recently, the police department switched from 8 to 12-hour shifts. And speaking from experience too, when I worked for the state as a correctional officer, we are mandated by law to work overtime if people didn't show up to work or if things happen. Now, what I do know is that when you work a 12-hour shift, it's a long day. But now, we don't have enough. If we don't have enough officers, this is going to be regular amounts of overtime, which at 12-hour shifts are going to exhaust the morale of your department. I've been there. I know for a fact that working 12-hour shifts for a month straight takes a toll on your department. And that is also a safety concern for me as well, is because we want to make sure that our officers are at a good state of mind to do their job and want to come to work to do their job effectively and efficiently for the safety of them as well. So these are the concerns that I have. I would like to see the Police and Fire Commission have approval to seek the hires that you are looking for. But I also think that the Police and Fire Commission should really start talking about generating a new list in case the current list that we have does get exhausted. And we are going to have to look forward to trying to find solutions to that overtime, because in my opinion, that is going to be unavoidable in our current situation.
Well, and there's several things here. This was the union's proposal, was to go to 12-hour shifts. So this didn't come out of the air. And so we entered into a memorandum of understanding to have the 12-hour shifts. What our agency is experiencing, as well as a lot of other agencies are experiencing, is that it's difficult to have officers come back and work extra details after working a 12-hour shift. And that's across the board. And you understand it. That's a lot of hours, and it's going to make them tired. So we understand that. We're still trying to find that balance. We're starting to tweak our policies and maybe say, do we have X amount of officers during this shift, and maybe reduce that to help alleviate the numerous forcing of officers to work for a sick call. So we're tweaking that. We are in constant communication with the union because they're aware of the dynamic that you're talking about. We're all aware of it. So we've been discussing it. Manager Harline has been on some of those discussions. So we're trying to make sure that we don't run into exhaustion and morale does go backwards.
One of the things that I'd also like to point out, without kind of totally explaining the weaknesses of the department, is how many people that we have on shift at a time. Now, we had talked about incidents like strats or other emergencies as well, and that's another reason why I think this board needs to think about budgeting in the future for more officers, so that way we could safely approach some of these situations while not being vulnerable in other parts of town. So that's all I have. Thank you.
Okay. Anyone else? Trustee Kumar.
Hi, Chief Rivas, I have an ask from you. that continue to come and ask us when you have these needs, and in a quick fashion like you have been doing, because I think covering all bases is very important. We really value our police department. We want them to be comfortable. So you are our first line of information on these things, and I am absolutely for an extra officer. Cover the base now. We have incidences happen all the time. I will definitely be voting if it comes to that for a yes on this. And I say that you keep us well informed of the needs of the police department in any way or form, because we as a board are there, I think, to work with all our staff, including the police and the fire.
Trustee Alfano.
Thank you. As an educator, I'm a planner. Sometimes that's a fault. I want to say thank you for being a planner as well and thinking ahead and making sure that you communicate what you need with us well in advance. I wanted to go back to something that you said because I just need some clarity. You said that you didn't have a certificate or a letter of certainty. Is that for retirement?
The letter in and of itself was just a document that we would ask if you can please just give us a date of when you're thinking of retiring. There is really nothing in creation. It's an ask.
Okay.
We can't tell people you have to give us a date.
So that's
You
not in
know,
the contract?
No, there's no contractual thing.
Okay.
If it's an irrevocable resignation, it can be revoked. We know that. That's the law does account for that.
Okay.
So it would just be an ask, and we had asked Deputy Chief Runge when we knew he was looking to retire, if he can give us a date certain, and he provided that willingly. And I understand the reluctance of the officers were asking if they could do that, so they're giving us parameters. But again, life changes, life comes at you fast, things change, so we understand it, so there's no pressure. There's absolutely no pressure. We would love for all of them to stay, that'd be best case scenario, but everybody has to live their own life as they seem fit.
Okay, thank you for that clarity. In education, it's a little different, so thank you.
Okay. Okay, who else? Okay, can we get a consensus for the Police and Fire Commission to go ahead and hire a new candidate? Clerk Kornecki.
Trustee Cordova?
Yes.
Trustee Kumar?
Yes.
Trustee Patrick?
Yes.
Trustee Corkery? Trustee Alfano?
Yes.
Trustee Kozar?
Yes.
President Casal?
Yes. Thank you, Chief, for all your time here. Okay, we'll go on to item 16, Village Commission reports. Acceptance of the minutes of the April 25th, 2024 Environmental Concern Commission's Bike, Pedestrian, and Transit Meeting. Acceptance of the minutes of the April 23rd, 2024 Community Fund Commission meeting. Acceptance of the special meeting minutes of May 1st, 2024, the Community Fund Commission. Acceptance of the minutes of the May 14th, 2024 Parks and Recreation Advisory Commission. Those minutes are all in everyone's packet tonight. Go ahead, item 17, Village Clerk's report.
No report, thank you.
Okay, Village Trustees, we'll start on my right. Trustee Patrick.
Thank you. Good evening, everybody. Thank you for tuning in or coming in here tonight. I have just a few things. First of all, Saturday was our Village Summer Festival. It was a very hot one. It really was, but overall, I had an amazing time. Got to get out there and talk with a lot of different residents and just be able to see what's on everybody's mind. One of the things that I would like to recommend for moving forward with our summer festival, much like what we do with the Villa Park 4th of July parade, when Manager Harline first got hired here, one of the things that he started doing right away that was important to us was planning a year ahead of time our 4th of July parade. And coming up this 4th of July, you will start to see the difference that a year's planning makes. So I really do appreciate that, Manager Harline. But to the point I'm trying to make is that I would like to see Summerfest also have the same type of planning moving forward for future years. I believe that there's a lot of potential, and this has kind of been a staple in our community for a very long time. Summerfest used to be 3 days long at one point. Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Now I know getting some looks, Manager Harline, but I'm saying that years ago, everybody looked forward to Summerfest. It has been a staple in our community. It's been a lot of fun. So moving forward, I would like to see the village start taking action so that way we could start planning a year ahead of time if possible. Next, I just want to thank the Villa Park Islamic Foundation for inviting me out yesterday to attend some of their festivities. Again, it was nice to get out and meet some of our residents and get to talk to them about some of the things that are going on in the community. And I had already touched base on the 4th of July parade a little bit here. Like I said earlier, you will see a difference this year in the parade. Some of the things that are going to be different, last year was the first year that we kicked off at 10 a.m. We're going to do that again this year, 10 a.m. to start off the 4th of July parade. But also there's been a slight change to the route. Instead of starting on Central Avenue, that will be more or less a staging area at which the direction will flow west on Park Boulevard, heading back to Harvard Avenue, and that way and completing the loop like it always has. Again, the 4th of July parade is hosted by the Villa Park Veterans of Foreign War, Post 2801, in conjunction with the Village of Villa Park. So when you see those volunteers out there trying to beat the heat, please give them a pat on the back and thank them for being there, because this really is about our volunteers making this happen. And I really appreciate that, and I think we are going to have a great 4th of July parade this year. So again, 10 o'clock kickoff and a new route change. That's all I have. Thank you.
Trustee Cordova?
No report today.
Okay, Trustee Kozar?
No report.
Okay, Trustee Alfano?
Thank you. I was also able to stop by for a little bit at Summerfest on Saturday, and it was nice to see so many residents brave that heat and take part in the festivities. And I did also spend some time at the Islamic Foundation yesterday. That's where my son and I got to enjoy a lot of different food, and we were warmly welcomed. We had delicious food, we had lots of treats, and I thank the foundation for their hospitality and their extravagant welcome. I wanted to remind residents that with the extreme heat that we've had, residents are reminded that 211 is the number to call or text in DuPage County. There are services available there. Other services are available there as well. If you are looking for anything, food, shelter, disaster services, that's 211. There's a Fund Commission meeting at 5:30 here at Village Hall tomorrow for any resident who would like to get more familiar with those future events that the Fund Commission is planning. July 3rd, you can join the Historical Society and Museum for their annual ice cream social. That's from 7 to 9, I believe. And I hope that everybody has a safe and fun and happy 4th of July. Hope to see a lot of people out at the 4th of July parade. That's all I have.
Okay, Trustee Kumar?
I was at Summerfest for some short time yesterday, talked to a lot of residents, found out some things that were concerning with residents. I will be updating staff on things that we need to think about with regards to those residents. But at this point, I'm not going to comment on that aspect. It was just a very fun time. I do agree with Trustee Patrick that we should start the planning a little earlier for that one. I already had this discussion at Parks and Rec that we should plan this earlier, think about things outside of the box, kind of a more diverse set of activities for Fun Fest in some way or form would be nice. Maybe it'll bring out more of the community. It is a great event that we've had for a very long time in town. As far as Lufkin Park, I do want to thank Tom Birch for coming out and making his commentary. But I still do hold some concerns with what was built there. It's cost $77,000. It's not cheap. It needs to have a multi-purpose use. It is not to be used only 1 or 2 times a year. I think it's something that needs to be used more frequently in general. And so I think more than anything, we still need to have a discussion on what can be done as a group to improve that. I understand the green space concern. I am not averse to green space. Obviously, I've been talking about green space all today. And so that's something we need to have a discussion about. I'm going to ask that possibly we have a cow to discuss what exactly we will do there. And I know that people feel that there should be no changes. But I think it's something that has to be used more than in one purpose. There should not be any space here in Villa Park, given the very small amount of green space we have, that doesn't have a multi-use. Okay, so that's my thing. What we do there can be addressed with the public at large. It does not have to be done without public input. I believe in everybody's input, as you guys all know. So we will be thinking about outside of the box possibilities for that area. I understand you still want, the park is beautiful otherwise. As I said, it should be on our strategic management plan. It's a great park. We've done a great job as Villa Park. It's something to keep at. I hope to see everybody during 4th of July. Remember, guys, when you use your fireworks at home, please stick to those normal fireworks that do not harm dogs, cats, do not bother people next door. This is, be safe. Do not give our police department more work than they already have. We want them to stay happy, as it is, we're trying to keep our police and fire very happy. So be fair, try to keep it all safe. I know you love our country and you want to celebrate, but celebrate safely. That's what I'll say. I hope to see you at the 4th of July parade, and that's about it.
Thank you. Trustee Corcoran?
No report this week.
Okay. Go to Village President's Report. Pretty much everything's been talked about. The parade on the 4th of July, hopefully we'll see everybody. Hopefully we'll get good weather. Trustee Kumar did bring up about fireworks. Just one point that I would like to make, and I'm sure Chief Rivas would kind of reiterate this. Most fireworks are illegal. If you are using them, you could be ticketed and could be confiscated, but think about people in the neighborhood. We have a lot of veterans in Villa Park, potential PTSD victims. So be conscious of that if you do have fireworks, but just also be conscious that it is illegal. And with the 4th of July holiday on Thursday, and didn't hear any comments from the board. Otherwise, we will cancel Coffee with the Board on July 6th. We will resume Coffee with the Board on August 3rd at 9 o'clock. And with that, we'll go to the village manager's report.
All right, I just had a couple things. The parking studies for Ardmore and Villa were sent to you this last Friday. So if you have comments, questions, you've got some time to read it and then send comments on to myself and Director McLaughlin we can give you some answers ahead of time, and it will help us with the discussion at the Committee of the Whole on July 8th. Tours of the Recreation Center, I haven't heard from Trustee Kozar or Corkery. Everybody else has gotten back to me. So if you want a tour of the Recreation Center, just let me know. We've got several times still open. I know that Trustee Kumar and Kazone are walking with the village, and a couple of you are said that you're busy in other places. If you are going to be able to walk with us and throw candy on the 4th, hand out candy gently to the people on the curb, not throw candy. Sorry. Please let us know. Thank you. I appreciate your doing that. So, and that's basically all that I had. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Okay, item 21A and B, executive session pursuant to 5 ILCS 120/2C11 regarding litigation when action against, affecting, or on behalf of the village has been filed and is pending before a court, or when the village finds that an action is probable or imminent, and pursuant to 5 ILCS 120/2C1, appointment, employment, compensation, discipline, performance, or dismissal of specific employees of the public body or legal counsel for the public body, including hearing testimony on a complaint lodged against an employee of the public body or against legal counsel for the public body to determine its validity. I'd like a motion to go into executive session and then adjourn out of our regular meeting at that point. Trustee Patrick?
Mr. President, I'd like to make that motion.
Okay, we have a second. Trustee Alfano?
I'll second.
Clerk Kornicki?
Okay, trustee Kumar,
Yes.
trustee Corkery.
Yes.
Trustee Cordova.
Yes.
Trustee Kozar.
Yes.
Trustee Alfano.
Yes.
Trustee Patrick.
Yes.
President Kazone.
Yes. So we will adjourn to executive session and then adjourn our board meeting out of that. Everyone have a safe and healthy 4th of July, and we'll see you on July 8th.